Hi, I'm Mark Honeybone from Property Ventures, and welcome to our weekly podcast where we interview prominent members of the investment community along with other professionals in the New Zealand property market. This is a free service from Property Ventures so that you can keep current and learn from some of the best around New Zealand. To check us out, take a look at propertyventures.co.nz. We hope you enjoy today's podcast. Hi and welcome to another podcast. Today we're going to do something a little bit different where I interview three clients who have had all different types of experiences with Property Ventures, just so you can hear from them what they thought of us, good or bad, and hope you can learn something from it or more about us anyway. So we're going to start off with a lady called Vicki Phillips, who is a mother of two very young children. I think she was pregnant with her second at the time she did this project. She was in Wellington. She wanted to get into doing a renovation to get some cash for future projects, and she come to us to see if we could help her. So take a listen to our interview with her and see what happened. So welcome along today, Vicki.
Thank you.
Hey, so before we say what you actually, how we helped you, how did you and why and how did you find us at Property Ventures?
Yeah, so I'd done one property development before, and I was looking for another one to do. I'd been looking on Trade Me and trying to make sense of properties when I saw them and didn't quite know exactly what I was looking at and if the project would work. And I came across Property Ventures online, and around the same time a property that came up that was exactly what I was looking for. It was a renovation within my price range, and I contacted from there.
Great stuff. Yeah, and what we ended up doing, we found out you were looking for a renovation, and we were obviously doing a lot of renovations at that time ourselves. So yeah, I think we worked out what you wanted, and we offered you the opportunity, and you decided to jump on in. So how did you sort of find what we did and what did we offer and how did it go?
Yeah. So the thing that I valued the most and that I value ongoingly with you, Mark, is that when I ask you for advice and I ask you what you think, I know that you're going to be giving me a straight answer. That obviously doing, our intention was to do a buy and sell. So the project, we wanted to turn it around within 3 to 4 months. And with those kind of numbers and figures, I hadn't done a project of that size before, and I was understandably a bit nervous given I had one small baby and potentially one on the way.
Yep.
So what I really appreciated was the expertise that you guys brought to the project, in that you'd gone through, done the costings of the renovation, had a very reliable builder. So the team was already in place, and all it was for me was to sort of jump on and sort of manage the project, knowing that most of the kind of, not the hard stuff, but the stuff that really matters in doing a project in property development, all that was taken care of. So I had confidence to jump into the project.
Okay, well that's great to hear, and that is the hard thing when you first do your first ever project. You don't really know where to start, I guess, and that's sort of what we try to offer you. And hopefully, one of the things you said before, the advice I gave you, hopefully I didn't give you too much advice, and I just said this is my opinion because I'm not a financial advisor.
Yeah. But, and I think it was more like I knew that I was on the right track with it. On the face of it, it looked like it would work, and I think I just valued. I think the fact that you guys have done this, the Property Ventures have done, as you say, renovations on more than a couple of occasions, and you've sort of seen the what can go wrongs and that kind of thing, and that I knew I wasn't getting a complete lemon, that as long as I did what I needed to do, it would work out, But so I guess I took what you said with a grain of salt and kind of, put my own energy into it as well.
Yeah. No, great, and that's where I should be with this thing. We just say our experiences, and then we present the opportunity. It's still the individuals or the investors' choice to make that the final decision.
Yes.
Yeah. So we did the project. I think we got done in about the right sort of time frame you wanted, or certainly quicker than 3 or 4 months, I think, to get the job done. Then we didn't sell it because at the time we didn't think it was in our expertise and would be better to go somewhere else. So what happened with the selling side of it?
Selling side of it was relatively straightforward. I used a local Wellington agent, and I think from memory it took about, was it 6 weeks to sell or thereabouts? Certainly it sort of came in, it didn't hang around on the market. It was, marketed really well, and I think because of, as you guys marketed it to me, that it was a slightly unique property in regards to the floor plan and the layout, and that, turned out to be sort of one of the selling points for it. So it all went relatively smoothly.
Yeah, that was one of the, I suppose, riskier factors of the project, truly, that it was a wee bit different than the normal sort of property, but it did work out well, and Adam, who we recommended to you, did a pretty good job. Eventually, I think it went to tender, and tender or auction. It didn't quite sell then, but it did within a few days after. Pretty much. There was a couple of tenders that came in, and then one came in sometime after, and we went with that one. Great. So just we question I'll ask you is, obviously this sort of project hasn't come up again, or I'm not sure if you really wanted one or have you, but would you use our services again, and more importantly, why would you use it again?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, I'd use Property Ventures again, and as it happens, I'm probably looking for another project coming up soon.
Nice.
Of a similar nature. But yeah, absolutely, because I think that what I really valued about the service provided is you guys were really upfront about where your margins were, what your fees were, and were able to break down the project time and time again. When I was asking you questions, you never seemed to get sick of me saying, I just want to know this, or I just want to know that you guys were really approachable kind of at any time. You guys worked around my time frames and my commitments with my young children and changing family circumstance. I wouldn't hesitate, because I would have confidence in Property Ventures that the advice I'm getting is that you guys are giving me what you know to the best of your ability, and you don't make any promises that you can't fulfill on.
Okay, well that's tremendous, Vicki. Hey, just thank you very much for your time today, and well done on that project. It was a wee while ago. You're the first of the three on this podcast, because you were the first of the three we're interviewing.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. We'd certainly love to help you in the future again. Hopefully we can during the Wellington market. We've now got a Wellington agent works for us in Wellington, so we've got extra ability to do that we didn't have at the time. We helped you out.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be really cool. Really cool. I'll probably be in touch with you soon.
Good on you. Hey, thanks so much, Vicki. Thanks for your time.
Mark. Bye.
So that was our first client, Vicki, that had never done a reno before, and we helped her get a start. Obviously, she liked the service and going through the process, which was and it was a lot of fun for us too. The next two, Narissa and Jason from Rotorua. Slightly different. They've brought a lot of properties in the last few years. They've appeared in the Property Investor magazine, had a monthly feature on them, and we've helped them into 3 properties, all quite different to each other. So we'll have a chat to them now and see what they did. So welcome to the show, Narissa.
Thank you, Mark. It's great to be here.
Great work. Now, you're representing your other half, Jason, tonight, so that's all good. So just when you started out, we've known each other now for a few years. How did you first find out about Property Ventures or myself?
It was another investor actually put us onto a house. I'd actually been there to look at a kitchen, and it was one that you were looking at renovating, and then she told me that it was for sale, and I called you straight away because I knew the property and it was exactly what we were looking for.
Yeah, great stuff. And that was a few years ago now, and that was in Rotorua, so your hometown. In fact, just the listeners can get a bit of a view of sort of who you are and any experience you've had. That I said was one of the ones in Rotorua. How many, if you don't mind asking or answering, how many properties have you sort of purchased in the last 3 or 4 years, and what sort of percentage of them have been at home and not been at home?
We started, our first rental property was April 2012, and we got our 10th one, I think it was just the end of last year. So yeah, we've built up a nice little group for ourselves, and I think 4 of them are in Rotorua, and the rest of them are spread out from Auckland, Hamilton, all the way down to Blenheim. Blenheim.
Blenheim's further south, all good. Well, that's impressive. So that's good. So people listening obviously know you've been out there and done a bit, and I suppose you didn't get in the Property Investor magazine by buying one property, so no, well done to you both. In fact, on that point, you've brought only four locally, have the other six, have you sort of gone and visited all of them before, or some of them, or how have you found them?
We visited all of them apart from two that we purchased from you. So we got the Rotorua one from you end of 2012, and then the other two that we purchased off you, one of them we saw, I think, about 3 weeks after it went unconditional, and then the one that we bought from you in Blenheim, we didn't see that for about 2 years after we purchased it.
Yeah.
But all the other properties we have visited before we've purchased them.
Right, I remember that was when I finally met your husband, and I think your father was at the time down in Blenheim 2 years later. Some people would be cringing at that, going, geez, I've never actually seen the property they brought. But a pretty common process, to be fair. So just working through them, just briefly about them. The first one in Rotorua was obviously a renovation. You brought it to renovate and to hold, I believe, and increase the rent. Did that go well?
Yeah, we purchased it and spent I think about 3 months renovating. We decided to do that one ourselves, which we probably won't do again because we've got full-time jobs.
Yeah.
So it took a bit longer than we thought, but the values were great. It increased in value wonderfully after we did the reno, and it's been tenanted. I think we've had 2 lots of tenants since we purchased it, so it hasn't been a bad turnover. One of them was a lovely couple. They wanted to go and buy their own home, so that was understandable. But no, that was a great find in a beautiful area in Rotorua.
Yeah, no, certainly a good area, and in Rotorua there's quite a bit of house to renovate, so I can see why it took so long.
Yeah, 2 stories. It was a big one.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, then I think the next one we did was just out of Palmerston North. A cheaper sort of property, and I think that was more. The attraction was discount in yield, I think, if I remember rightly.
Yeah. I think you got it for a super deal, which you passed on, which was wonderful, and and that one's one of our best performers. It's been tenanted the whole time, and it's got a great yield, so we're very happy with that one.
Right, but I remember that one. We had a bit of an incident just about the unconditional date, I think it was, or settlement date. That was actually just before we had our licence, when I was still sort of trading, I believe, and we brought it a mortgagee sale, and we had a bit of a trouble where the people took some of the chattels, would say, and I think I was running around frankly trying to get it back up to good condition, which had probably ended up better condition for you than it originally was.
So that worked out well in our favour. I think we got new curtains and new carpet and all sorts of things out of that one. Wasn't good for you that they took everything, but it worked out great for us.
Yeah, so that was so hopefully we provided a fair service with that one. I think we probably did.
Yeah, definitely. I was very impressed.
And then the last one we did, which was really a different property yet again in Blenheim, which was a viticultural property, again another very big house. Probably better cash flow than normal, so I think we get paid pretty well at the high end of what it's worth, and that's a decision you sometimes make to get the high cash flow to subsidise other properties, I guess. But that's the one you didn't see for a couple of years. I don't know if you've ever seen it at all yet, have you?
No, I haven't seen it yet, but my husband went down and had a look.
So tell us a bit more about that one if you can, and process.
Yeah, so it was one that it took a lot of courage on our part. We thought it took a lot of courage because it seemed too good to be true. It was one of those ones with great numbers and everything seemed wonderful. So it was a bit scary because we were a bit nervous. It sounded too good, but we've had it now since I think we purchased that one end of 2012. We did, and it's performed better than almost twice as good as any of the other ones we've had. It's rent by the room for vineyard workers in Blenheim, and it's a beautiful home in a beautiful area. So that's my favourite.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I hope it's a good area. I've got a house there myself, just around the corner, which I call home, even though I only spend about a day or two there a week. That's really good. And sometimes I think we've got a property at the moment in Rotorua, for example, and some people sort of don't necessarily rate it or like it. But again, it's that cash flow that pays $10,000 to $12,000 a year, which can subsidise those in our Auckland properties. I know you've got Auckland properties. I bet you they're not paying you that much in rent a year, but they'll be getting the capital gains, I guess.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that's why we've spread out. We do without our Rotorua ones, but we definitely want to have. We like the Auckland and Hamilton ones as well. So they should get the capital gains while Rotorua pays for it. That's the theory.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's all good. So just haven't prepped you for this, but just there's a lot of new listeners there, and you've done a few things now. Would you have any recommendations for a new person listening to this that's trying to get in the market and saying whether they should or whether they shouldn't buy? Do you have any suggestions for them?
Yeah, definitely. The thing that we've found most valuable is having a great team around us. We've bought only 3 properties. We've found ourselves. The rest of them we've bought through different finders, and having someone that you can trust to look for the houses, it saved us ample time. Where there was no way that we would find houses in Palmerston or Blenheim or Auckland even without the help of our team of finders, and then also accountant and mortgage broker, property valuers. Everyone that's on our team is amazing, and we've found that anyone that we employ, especially property managers, or actually anyone on our team, we now make sure that they're property investors themselves. We've gone through a few different people, and we've found that whenever they're property investors themselves, they seem to know what we're after and know how we want our tenants treated and know how we want our house treated. So that's one of our key rules, is that whoever we're dealing with, we want them to be investors themselves.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I'm always big for talking about having a great team. But a good point you picked up there is once you've got your team, you don't have to leave it there, because some people, for whatever reason, might not be the right person from where you've progressed to. So there's no harm in sort of getting new people on your team also. And like you don't have to have just one of a particular trade or industry in the property field. So you can have more than one too. Because depending on what you do, if you have different sorts of activities you do in property, it won't hurt to have 2 people that do it, I guess, to help you out.
Yeah, definitely. And having people from the area, like having yourself in Blenheim and other finders in Auckland and Hamilton, it's made the world of difference. We didn't want to buy all of our properties in one spot. We didn't want all our eggs in one basket. So we needed people to help us with finding them in different locations, and it's worked out wonderfully.
Great stuff. Well, we've now set up a very good service in Auckland, which we'll talk about later. But so just finishing off, I haven't really probably asked you, would you use our service again, and why would you?
Yeah, definitely. I have no doubt we will be using it again. To purchase 2 properties, well, 3 properties, but 2 sight unseen, shows that we trust you, and so far you haven't steered us wrong. We've done wonderfully on all of our properties, and I've recommended you to many people, so I have no doubt we will be using your services again.
Great stuff. I know I do get people where it comes with your backing, which is all very nice, so good way to do business. So, that's great. Hey, really appreciate your time tonight, and well done. Congratulations to you and Jason for what you have achieved in the last few years. So, good on you for having the gumption to keep going, and thanks very much for tonight, and all the best in the future.
Thanks, Mark, and look forward to buying another one.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Narissa for her time tonight, and in fact, just talking to her afterwards, she was saying about the Blenheim property. She said it's not really the normal rental. She had it for 2 years, and she said she's paid off over $20,000 against the principal just because of the rent. So a great wee deal. They don't come around every day. In fact, we have got one there at the moment, but they're something unique, but you have to have the right people managing it, and there's only really a select few that do it. So it was great talking to her, and we thank her for her time. So the last person we thought we'd talk to is someone much more current. In fact, you can't get much more current than, I think, his property just went unconditional yesterday morning at about 9:30 in the morning, his first purchase in New Zealand. and that's been with a new service we've just started offering. We haven't actually publicly advertised it, and we don't want to, because we only want to have a select few customers for it, and it is a one-on-one buyer's agency service. We started at the start of this year, and to do that properly, if we're working for one investor, we don't want to have 10 or 20 people, because you just can't give that person give them the service they really need and then do it justice. So we're working with about 3 to 5 people, any of our licensed agents here, and it seems to be going really successful, and we're helping some people out with some pretty good buys, I think. And we don't just give them or flog them off any old property. In fact, most of our people we've had here have actually been has been sort of the second property they've ended up buying. So and that's all good. So we've got Simon from Hong Kong, an expat Kiwi, and he just brought his property, the second one we looked at. With a few hiccups along the way, but we got there just in the last few days. So we'll welcome Simon to the show. So welcome to the show, Simon.
Thanks, Mark.
So first of all, how did you find out about Property Ventures?
I think I was browsing around on the interest.co.nz website, I believe, and I think I saw an advert from there to your website. So I cruised around on your website, saw the kind of properties that you had on offer and the kind of services that you were offering as well, and which is what I kind of wanted, because obviously being remote here in Hong Kong, it's very difficult to get much traction yourself in the market. So I really needed a bit of advice, and that's what appealed to me about your company.
Okay, well that's great. It's an interesting way to come about finding us. So obviously you're overseas, and that's one of the reasons you come to us. Were you looking beforehand, and did you have any frustrations? Was that the main reason to come to us, because we're here? Or?
I'd been back in New Zealand for Christmas, and saw some mates in Auckland, and we were talking about the property market and some of their properties that they had. And I could see that there were better returns than the properties I had in Australia.
Yep.
And so I started looking around, obviously on things like Trade Me and various other pure real estate agents. And to be honest, it was a little confusing. Having been out of New Zealand for about 10 years now, it was difficult to know what was a deal and what wasn't. So after a couple of months of sort of sniffing around, doing the usual sort of Trade Me approach, I realised I wasn't getting as far as I wanted, as fast as I wanted. So that's when I kind of took the position that I'd rather hire somebody with the expectation that the fee would kind of pay for itself in terms of paying a market or below market rate for a property.
Great, yeah, and that's I talk to investors here in New Zealand every day, and they find it hard when they live here to go do the Trade Me thing and try to find a property. So it must be harder when you're overseas, and that's one of the things we try to offer with our one-on-one service is exactly what you sort of mentioned there. Is we get you a place with sort of 5 days due diligence where you're not competing against anyone else, and in my opinion, and a lot of other people I talk to, they see that's where the fee is taken in. I was talking to a client yesterday. They were negotiating a $750,000 property, and it went for $810,000. So if you had that $750,000 property for 5 days due diligence, the fee well and truly is taken place of.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, it was just peace of mind, knowing that I wasn't overpaying or being taken advantage of because I couldn't see the property. And it's just convenience, like I just don't have the time to be trawling through Trade Me and things all night, every night.
Yeah, and that sort of brings you on to what you said about sort of trying to get a deal and getting a fair price, and someone's going to look after you. The first property we found, Simon, was a place in Otahu. It appeared to be a sensational deal, as sometimes they do, probably well over 100,000 under value, really. But we had a few issues with it, and just briefly before Simon says his take on it, the building report, I was there with him when he went around, and there were just a few things that were brought to our attention was worrying, I guess. And then when we got the LIM, we found out there was no code of compliance on the place that had been there for about 20 years, had been moved on the site, and there was a lot of reasons why it hadn't been given. It was going to cost probably in excess of $150,000, maybe more. So how did you, pretty stressful from your side, but how did you find that from halfway around the world?
Well, from the pictures and the Google stalking that I did, it looked pretty good. Like you said, it looked like the bargain of the century, which kind of on first look kind of makes you a little bit suspicious, but it looked really quite good. And but once we started getting some feedback from the property inspectors who came along, and some of the sort of quotes, and then some of the due diligence with the title and things, it was starting to uncover why it was like $100,000 under market value. And that just brings me back to the first point, is trying to do all that over Trade Me by myself in Hong Kong would have made an already sort of fairly heightened event just that much more stressful, or at worst I may not even have found out about it. So to me, that's kind of what the due diligence period is for. You pay the money to the inspector and the lawyer to do the title searches. That one didn't pan out, but I didn't see it as a failure. It was just, we were looking for a deal. We found one we thought it was, but the due diligence didn't work out. So, it's just one of those things.
Yeah, no, that's great. I loved your attitude with that too, Simon. Sort of, we spent $800 or whatever it was doing that due diligence, and I felt a bit embarrassed about that, but you took it the right attitude, that spend $800 now, then spend 100 and whatever thousand later on. So that was good. So what happened then is we
and just on that, I expected to go through a couple of those kind of scenarios before we found like the rose amongst the thorns, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
So I've been prepared to do that a couple of times before I started, feeling any emotion about it.
Yeah, and to be fair, our one-on-one clients we're dealing with, they are a pretty high calibre of people, as their expectations are very similar to yours, I guess. And it hasn't always been the first property that most of us have got for various reasons. But I suppose a good thing is we've had a chance, we've got it off the market, and we've had a look at it and investigated why. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But as long as we find it out before and conditional date, it's important.
Yeah, exactly.
So then sort of moving on to the last one, we found another one similar in a way that we found it. Again, we had to react pretty quickly to get it off the market, which we did. And there was a place in Manukau and close to Papatoe, and we had a few interesting situations along the way, mainly with a valuer taking a wee while to get the valuation done. I'd like to hear your take on it first before I explain my side of it.
Yeah, to my mind, this one was much more of a just go do. The property report came back good. The solicitor was happy with the title. So pretty early on, I was comfortable with proceeding. It's just the bank seemed to hire the slowest valuer in New Zealand, or I'm not sure. The properties I've bought in Australia, I've always had valuations back within a day or two. This one seemed to take well over a week, and when it did come back, it was well short of what everybody was expecting the market to be. I think it was the same valuation as what was given 8 or 9 months ago. And unfortunately, he didn't return that valuation until, an hour before the end of the conditional period, which caused a heightened sense of awareness and emotion, I must say, and a fair bit of quick back and forth on the phone to sort that out. Luckily, you, Mark, were able to talk some sense into him, and he came back with a favourable valuation that was slightly above what our offer had been.
Yeah, just on that before you carry on. Actually, I'm not defending valuers, but the valuers in New Zealand, and Auckland in particular, are going through such a busy, stressful time themselves, I guess. with it. Obviously, everyone knows how hot the market is right now. And in fact, the bank didn't actually tell him when you had to be unconditional buy. So that was one hiccup. But I had told him about 4 days earlier, and so you're still rather disappointed to come back so late. And then, and just a good learning point for everyone out there listening is, he didn't have all the relevant information on the property, and that's where he come in low. He come in with a place that's had 20% growth in the last 12 months, and the valuation was 6 months ago, and it come back at exactly the same level. But he hadn't taken into account a few recent sales, and he hadn't taken into account of, not that he really should know the price everyone's paying for it, but he hadn't taken into account a couple of other bits and pieces to do with the sale that he should have known. So yeah, that was rather stressful for you and me last Friday about 5 o'clock for a wee while, I guess. But to the valuer's credit, he did realise at 1 minute to 5 last week, when they were about to cancel the agreement, that he said, hey, now we have got some more information and relevant information. Yeah, we will revisit on Monday. So that was to his credit, but that was Friday, but we still didn't go unconditional till Tuesday. So carry on if you want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. To his credit, he did come back and adjust his valuation. Thank God. Otherwise, I could have missed out on what I perceived to be quite a good deal. But I think the learning for me out of this was to get these guys engaged just as early as possible, and I felt like I had, but I think the briefing that you also gave him, Mark, kind of helped him on his way there, because, like you said, obviously the sands are moving so quickly in Auckland. It's hard for these guys to keep up.
Yeah, that's the one thing he said himself. He said he's finding it hard at the moment to value in Auckland because things are moving so quickly. Geez, for a valuer, when a suburb goes up 20% in 1 year, that's obviously extremely quick, and they do have to try to keep up with the sales and that have happened in the last 2 or 3 months that aren't on the Property Gurus and the RPNZ sort of sites. And I'm never one. I like the things being fair as it is. I've never push valuers either way. Some people try to, but in that case there, it was just abundantly clear it was wrong, and it was a good property. You wanted the property, so it was but in the end it was a good result, and he probably came up a little bit higher than I thought he was going to be fair. But it was enough for you for finance anyway, for your finance, I guess.
No, it came good.
And just another side note to that story, again, another learning experience for people out there. When you have a sale and purchase contract, like that contract was supposed to finish last Friday, he ended up, the valuer on 5 o'clock on Monday was still playing around with this, and finally got back to their solicitor. They hadn't officially, we asked for an extension on the contract, they hadn't replied. So just on that point, when your contract expires, it is still live until either party cancel that agreement. So just because the time has gone over, it doesn't mean that contract is cancelled. Once it is over the time, you still have to declare it unconditional, and then the other party has to agree to it. Where if it's before the unconditional date, you just have to declare it unconditional. So just the point with that is, if it's not cancelled, it's not cancelled. This particular deal, there was a bit of an extra story that did cancel and we got it back again, but that's a good thing that the people aren't really aware of. Just because it's gone past that time, 5 o'clock or 4 p.m. on whatever day it is, you can still go unconditional on that contract. So just a wee learning point. So overall, you're just sort of starting back in here in New Zealand. How have you found this so far? It's been a short sort of 2 months, I suppose, or so relationship we've had so far. How have you found the service?
Really good, actually, Mark. The kind of properties that you were providing were good. You didn't provide a list of sort of dregs, if you like. I felt the ones that you were providing were ones that had fit my criteria. Being from Nelson, I'm familiar with that area, and provided quite a couple of good, land bank style opportunities down there. Yep. Which I thought was good, but obviously I was if we could get into Auckland, then I was keen for that, but I just didn't think the budget was going to work out in Auckland. But I'm really quite glad with what we've ended up with. So no, I'm really pleased with how you and Jess have helped me out here.
No, that's fantastic, and we've got some other clients we're working with, sort of getting two or three properties we're helping with, and then there's other clients like yourself who've got our one property, and then I imagine you'll be hopefully come back sometime in the future, and when you're ready to get your next, and being an ex-client, you'll or still not an ex-client, a client of ours, you'll just been through the system, we'll pick you up straight away and get you back on the bandwagon again whenever you're ready, I guess. It's assuming you want to use us again, Simon.
No, definitely. I think to me, the fee kind of paid for itself, and just the time and sort of due diligence, if you know what I mean. Like if it hadn't been for your help and the help of the people you referred me to, the incident last Friday with the valuation just could have seen me miss out on the opportunity altogether, because I wouldn't have had the local know-how to know that was as vastly wrong as it was with the valuation. So, no, I'll definitely be back.
Great. Okay, no, that's great. Hey, I really appreciate your time today, Simon. So thanks for that, and we'll no doubt be talking about some bigger successes in the future. So thanks for your time.
Yep, no problem.
Well, there you have it. So 3 quite different investors from different backgrounds with different investment opportunities they've taken on board. So we hope you've enjoyed the podcast today that we've presented you all. And just on the last one with Simon, so the one-on-one service is, as I said, a service that we've just started this year. It's really successful. The people we're taking on, they are serious, and we don't want to take on people that aren't serious finding a property, because it takes a big effort and a lot of manpower and time and effort to make that work. And you are using our ability to get properties that other people don't get access to. So it's a good service, and as I said, we're limiting it to just a few people from each real estate agent we've got within the company. So if you're interested in that, certainly give us a call in our Auckland number, or email us at propertyventures.co.nz, and we'll get back to you. So if you want any more information, or you want to tell us who you'd like to hear on the podcast, this is how this one came about today, in fact, because a few people requested something similar to this. Let us know at info@propertyventures.co.nz, or Mark or Jess and we'll get some more good high caliber people on board for you. Next week's podcast should be David Howes from Property Investor from Australia. He will be talking about their new product that they've got. So until then, have a great week, and you'll hear from us again in a week's time. Take care.